how does the man perform?
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Joe Biden wins! Kamala is the Vice President of the United States of America! Woo! Woo! Oh my God! Holy cow! Oh man! Dancing in the streets. Did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that? For me, it's not that instant. No. It's going to be a few weeks before I stop waking up screaming and doom scrolling. Everybody's still doing it. We share our office space with Josh, okay, and Keely. And Josh is, an avid Democratic little kid, right? He's for me. He's a little kid, and I walked in today and he's like, "Why is he still tweeting? Why?" Because he's a liar. That's why. We don't have to look at it anymore. We don't. Well, we do for 2.5 months. You know that moment in the movies when the hero jolts awake and realizes everything was a nightmare? Wake up, everybody! Oh, yes. No, it was real. We were in hell. We were in absolute freaking hell. This is the feeling I had. I had this feeling like we were all factory farm animals and we were locked in our filthy cages for, 4 years. And then suddenly we were transported into a world of fields and sunshine. And now I'm going to need a moment to just roll around in the grass. Do you know what I'm saying? I want this over is what I want. I want this over. So, the streets were full of people. And the great thing was, it wasn't just because somebody was erroneously shot by a police officer or because they were unemployed or because they were sitting waiting for the food bank to open. Do you know what I'm saying? The streets were full of people who were dancing and celebrating our long national nightmare is almost over. Almost over. So we're not quite there yet. You know the story about Emily Murphy. Now, remember, I think the only person in your life, honestly, whoever brought up the Government Services Agency, right, the GSA, because guys like Bill Maher, they were on the TV and a lot of people were like, what if he doesn't leave? What if he doesn't leave, right? And I kept saying to you, so you have the Government Services Agency and they handle all the government buildings. That's why they're called that. And that they would just, tell him his parking, pass had expired and change the locks or the passcode or, change the magnetic key. And they would give him a box and tell him to pack up his things. And now he has to go, right? And that would be the extent of it. Well, everybody, it turns out that the head of the GSA is a girl with a Twitter account. At GSA Emily. Yeah, the girl who's the head of the GSA is a woman appointed by Donald Trump. And her name is Emily Murphy at GSA Emily. And she isn't, down with the whole he won thing. She doesn't know if Joe Biden won yet. Why doesn't she know? Do they have TV there? Do they have a radio? Morse code, something, anything. Somebody get a message to Emily at GSA Emily on the Twitter and tell her that Joe Biden is ahead in Georgia over 10,000 votes, 10,621, that he's ahead in Arizona by 17,131 votes, that he won Wisconsin by 20,000 votes, Pennsylvania by 45,000 votes, and that the Bush v. Gore scenario does not apply here. That was 535 votes in dispute in one state. Okay, so somebody please get a message to at GSA Emily on the Twitter and tell her this is done, this is over. Joe Biden has an incredible amount to do. He has a lot of things to do. He's already done one of them. He's not Donald Trump. Yay! Yeah, I mean, that's the most important thing about Joe Biden. He's not Donald Trump. Look at it this way. If Joe Biden could kill less than 1,000 Americans per day, every day, he's already doing better than Donald Trump. I would rather have a guy who has a little stutter, a little. You think about that. Joe Biden is a politician. Joe Biden was a senator and a vice president of the United States of America, and he has a stutter. Now think about how hard that would be, like being a talk show host with a stutter, but still having an amazing amount of audience and respect and, love. And I would much rather have a guy who has a little bit of a hard time enunciating perfectly than some lunatic who says whatever it goes through his mind at any given moment on any given day, and his skull is completely empty and devoid of any new ideas. Just saying. That was our choice. A president should be like a heart. Like a heart. Constantly keeping things running and doing it so efficiently that you forget it's still there pumping. For 4 years, we had acute angina.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
We did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
Wow, that was a moment, right? Oh, so good. So good, so good, so good. So VP-elect Kamala Harris, I mean, that is one for the ages, okay? She's the first African-American, the first woman, the first Asian-American to be the vice president. She's like, the Klan, they must be out of their minds because she's like the trifecta of everything they hate. Misogynistic, she's black, she's, Asian, she's Indian. I mean, wow, they must be like beside themselves. It's just, wow. She shattered like more glass ceilings than a freaking hailstorm, on a winter night. And by the way, I have hurricane hair. We had a hurricane this weekend. Did you know that? No, you didn't know that because nobody covers us. But yeah, we had a hurricane. It was like the most amazing thing. And then this morning, ooh, let the sun shine. I mean, now it's 86 degrees again. But yeah, we had this, it was a category 1, but we had like 65-mile-an-hour winds. And so I decided I was going to plant. I wanted to do a victory garden. And I had my mind made up to do it. And I planted on Friday night, Saturday during the day, and then I went to my mom's. She was so proud. My mom was so proud. She voted. She's 90. She thought maybe this was her last election. I don't know. I think she's too stubborn to die, is what I think. But listen, I can't wait for this man to leave the White House. Somebody needs to tell at GSA Emily she needs to change the locks. She needs to, revoke the parking pass. But I will tell you this, you can miss him all you want, but he's not really going to go away. He's really not. I will tell you, I've been following all these lawsuits, okay? He's 0 for 5, and the most hysterical thing ever, the most hysterical, you know where I'm going, right? So they were announcing on Twitter that they were going to have this the Trumpers, Trump, the Trump campaign, announced that they were going to have a big press conference at the Four Seasons in Philadelphia, okay? But for some strange reason, they did not book the Four Seasons hotel. Instead, they booked the Four Seasons Total Landscaping venue. The Four Seasons Total... All right, first of all, here's my first question. Who does partial landscaping? What is that about? So, I mean, and it was on my mind because I was in the garden, and I'm thinking I should call total landscape. But then I thought, what does it mean to do not total landscaping? Does that mean that they don't do shrubbery? What does that mean? Anyway, so they booked this place called Total Landscaping, right? And it turns out that total Four Seasons Total Landscaping is located in a strip mall outside of Philadelphia. And it is located in a strip mall with this is like so Floridian, really. I mean, just so you know what it's like down here. I feel you, North Philly. I feel you, because that is just so Four Seasons Total Landscaping is in a strip mall next to an adult bookstore. Yeah, they sell books. And why do we still call it a bookstore? I mean, who is reading Anne Roquelaure? Who besides me is reading, Beauty and the Beast or Sleeping Beauty Awakes? I mean, I'm the only one. But it's next to a sex shop, and a crematorium is across the street. And so it ends, everybody. And so it ends. I mean, this made-for-TV thing with Melania and the white dress coming down a golden escalator now ends in a parking lot in North Philly next to a sex shop and across the street from a crematorium. I mean, that describes the point in their lives where all the Trump voters are right now. They're in between a sex shop and a crematorium. This is where they are. I mean, it's just so unbelievable. So Rudy Giuliani goes ahead. He goes ahead with this press conference in the parking lot of a strip mall behind, not even in front. The front is not so bad. It looks like it looks like this place where we are. We're in a commerce park. It sort of kind of looks like that. Except there was a sex shop right next door. So they went to the back. They went to the parking lot. And this is where Rudy finds out that the race is over. This is real time. This is when he finds out.
The poll? Because they don't decide the election. The call for Joe Biden is it? Who was it called by? Oh my goodness, all the networks. Wow. All the networks. We have to forget about the law.
The law.
Judges don't count.
What?
All the networks thought Biden was going to win by 10%. Gee, what happened? Come on, don't be ridiculous. Networks don't get to decide elections. Courts do.
What? Wait, what? He's lost his marbles. Courts don't decide elections. We do. Isn't he supposed to be an attorney of some sort? Isn't he supposed to have been a district attorney? Isn't he supposed to have a law license? Why does he think courts decide elections? So far, I will tell you, he brought all these lawsuits. Okay, a lot of people brought lawsuits. They brought 5 lawsuits in 5 states with no evidence of anything. And they are 0 for 5. 0 for 5 in their quest, okay? And Donald Trump is tweeting out that donors need to contribute to the legal defense fund so he can fight these cases in court. And then CBS reports over the weekend that all the money, you were being so played right to the end, you rubes, that Donald Trump's court fight money is actually going to campaign debt. Why? Because Donald Trump took all the money for himself out of his campaign. Rubes. I love this scene. This is like
of course, courts set aside elections when they're illegal.
They do.
In this particular case, I don't know if there's enough evidence to set aside the entire election. Certainly not around the country, maybe in Pennsylvania. However, there certainly is enough evidence to disqualify a certain number of ballots.
Oh.
The ballots that were not properly inspected should be thrown out. And that number of ballots should be taken out of the count. That could affect the election.
Oh, for God's sake.
It's so sad. It is so sad. Why is it every time we win an election, we have to come in with like a shovel and a dump truck to clean up the mess? Because you have that caliber of human involved. That's why. they lost every case they've brought so far? They have no evidence. They're just doing this for political reasons to tear us even further apart. Okay, there's no evidence at all. None.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844.
Hello, Four Seasons Total Landscaping. Since 1992, we are not the hotel. No, we don't not do events. Why would we do events? We do turf mowing, edging at beds, and seasonal color. Well, one time there's a cremation center directly across the street, and one time their power went out. We let them use our mulcher, so I don't know if that counts as an event. Whoa, okay, relax, dude. I don't know who you are, but I do know that your poor planning does not constitute my emergency. No, we don't have a podium. Why would we have a podium? We have a rototiller. I know that's not the same thing. I'm just trying to match your energy. Oh, you don't have to cry. Stop crying. Oh my God, stop crying. Oh my God, stop crying. Okay, fine. I don't know who you are, but yeah, okay, come on by. We're next to the adult bookstore.
Christine Niggle, everybody. Oh! Christine Niggle. Oh my God. And then there's this one too. This was so innocent. This was just a girl. Just a girl.
You guys, I know it's been a long day, but I really don't like that we're breezing over the fact that yesterday Trump said they were holding a huge press conference at the Four Seasons Hotel, and then they accidentally they accidentally booked it at a place called Four Seasons Total Landscaping, and Rudy Giuliani had to go there.
Her name's Carly Aquilino. You know what? She looks just like Howard's daughter. Howard has a daughter named Courtney that looks just like Carly. I mean, and the same accent and everything. Oh, that just floored me. It just killed me. Oh, and it gets even better. Check this out. So Rudy I don't know who plans these events. I mean, it's like David Lynch and, is making another movie. It's like so unbelievable. It looked like some creepy German expressionist film that was going on in that parking lot. Because, Rudy Giuliani's like Nosferatu anyway, right? He's like, and then he calls this guy up to testify that he saw untoward things going on in the vote room in Philadelphia. Okay, he saw it. What is it? Turns out this guy is a convicted, wait for it, QAnon, wait for it. He's a convicted sex offender. Oh! Pearls, baby. They keep giving us pearls. Oh my God, yes, the guy is a convicted sex offender, and he's not from Philly at all. And everybody recognized him. Everybody knew who he was, because this is a guy who chronically runs for office in New York State. He chronically runs for office, and he can't get elected because he's a convicted sex offender. And you know what his sex crime is? He tries to turn preteens, this is gross, I'm telling you, into poll watchers. Oh yeah, he's a flasher. That's his sex crime. 7 to 11 is his wheelhouse. Yeah, it's gross. 7 to 11-year-olds he exposes himself to. That's who Rudy Giuliani is counting on to overthrow the election in Pennsylvania, which Joe Biden won by 45,000 votes. 45,000 votes. Oh my God. This is seriously strange. I swear to God. You want to see the glowing green car from Repo Man. It's going to fly by any second. It's just, oh my God. It's surreal, really. It's just, this has been an amazing conclusion, to the trash that this man was. For him to have ended up in this manner, in a parking lot next to a sex store and a crematorium, represented by a sex offender and Rudy Giuliani, who can't get his hands out of his pants, captured in a film called Borat's subsequent movie film. It's perfect. It's, ooh, mwah. God, I love it. John in Washington.
Hey, Randy, wasn't that Bernard Carrick behind Rudy?
Was it? I don't know. They were wearing masks.
I thought I saw. No, well, he took his mask off, and yeah, a lot of stuff with him. Is there? I have some good news, but I'm deeply troubled by the Supreme Court. Is there any way, shape, or form they could get the election to the Supreme Court?
No.
To throw it? There's no way.
No.
Excellent. There's some great news about llama antibodies, some of the research on that, where for the COVID, and up here in my neck of the woods, the University of Washington has a vaccine candidate that is 10 times more effective so far in their studies, and doesn't have to be kept at the super cold temperatures.
10 times more effective than
the other vaccine. I don't know what that measure is, but they're not known for hyperbole.
Okay, all right, everybody. Well, let's just go crazy. Philip in Pennsylvania.
Hey, Randy, how are you?
All righty.
First-time caller, and I wanted to thank you.
Uh-huh.
And I was just calling to say thank you for all the work you've done in the past few years. I've really enjoyed listening to you, and it's really helped make sense of all this nightmare that we've been living through.
My pleasure, really, truly.
So keep up the good work. Love you.
Thank you. I love you, too. And here's the really good news. Now we know for sure we're going to have another election in 4 years. Oh! We did not know that. That was not a known. We didn't know that. So at least we're going to have an election in 4 years. Okay? Stephen, Indiana.
Yeah, Randy.
Hey.
I can't understand these people. 70 million people actually voted for a rapist, a child molester, and, it's the Lord said he was the best for us and everything. I can't believe it. It's ridiculous.
I cannot for the life of me explain how it is possible that 70 million Americans, after all this, after 10 million cases of COVID, after 237,760 deaths, after a Muslim ban, after anti-Semitism, after, a Muslim ban, after separating children from their mothers, how 70 million people went down that road and said, this is the best America can do.
Yeah, and they think he's the greatest in the world.
And how the evangelicals could possibly believe that a man who breaks every commandment twice, maybe 3 times a day, every day, is their guy.
Yeah.
Is their guy. I mean, this prosperity gospel has gotten way out of control. Way out of control.
That man can't tell the truth.
He is pathological. He is incendiary. He's pathological. He uses his own followers as dupes, as pawns. Die for me. And they do it. I mean, yeah. So we got this thing here in this country. Like I said, we were split right down the ass crack by the likes of this demagogue. So 70 million people actually showed up and voted for him in a pandemic. Don't forget that, because he'll never let you forget it.
Fatality. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Will the president concede anytime soon, I guess, is my final question, given all of this?
It really would be wrong for him. At this point, it would be wrong for him to concede. There is strong evidence that this was an election that in at least 3 or 4 states and possibly 10, it was stolen. In other words, it was based on false votes. Now, you can't let an election go into history without challenging that. I mean, Gore got 2 months to challenge it.
Rudy? How long do you expect all of this?
2 months, right?
Through the federal court system, how long will this take?
I am, and I'm not the only one doing this. There are many, many lawyers. We're all doing it as fast as we possibly can, consistent with being able to put it together correctly. I think the Pennsylvania situation...
Are you expecting it to go to the Supreme Court? Are you expecting it to go to the Supreme Court?
I do. I mean, I can't predict that. Nobody can predict it. But, you know, more likely than not, this is not going to get resolved at the state court level. I mean, they're not going to accept a decision of, you know, disqualifying 500,000 votes in Pennsylvania, and we are sure not going to accept a decision that doesn't take account of the fact that we were cheated.
Oh, he's nuts. Okay, 500,000. Okay, so here's what happened in Pennsylvania. Republican observers not only were in Pennsylvania, which was the substance of their claim. See, Rudy Giuliani was claiming that these votes were counted without observers there. So here's a little factoid for you. Number one, all of the counting rooms were live streamed. It is, you know, the 21st century. It's so pathetic. Number two, there were hundreds of observers in those rooms. In fact, when the lawyers went before the court in Pennsylvania, the attorney conceded in federal court Thursday morning that they had a number of people in the room, that they had all the observers that they requested that were certified to observe in the room. The U.S. District Judge, his name was Paul Diamond, asked, I'm sorry, what's your problem again? I swear to God, that's a quote. I'm sorry, what's your problem? What is your problem? And dismissed the case. They also went to court and asked the court to mandate that ballots that came in after Election Day in Pennsylvania be segregated from ballots that came in on Election Day before 8 p.m. and before. And Samuel Alito at the Supreme Court said, yes, okay. Except Pennsylvania was already doing that. And they were a tiny fraction of the overall vote, and the state officials had already ordered those ballots segregated. And then elsewhere in Pennsylvania, Republicans sued to stop election officials from releasing the names of voters whose absentee ballots had been rejected for lack of a signature. That's called curing your ballot. The local counties did release the names so the voters could sign their ballots and fix the flaw. That lawsuit failed also. The judge wrote, you have to prove why it would be injured if voters had a chance to correct their ballots. If voters intended to vote for a candidate but forgot to sign their ballots, tell me, if they had a chance to sign their ballots, how does that injure you? And they couldn't answer that question. And so Judge Michael Corey Jr. said, as a result, your request for an injunction must fail. On Saturday, Rudy Giuliani said, we're preparing to file another lawsuit on Monday. There was grand scale wrongdoing in Pennsylvania. This is going to be a big case. We haven't seen it. In Michigan, they had 2 cases. They lost 2 times. Again, they said observers were excluded. Again, they said voters had a chance to cure their ballots. Judge Timothy Kenney wrote, the city of Detroit should not be harmed when there is no evidence to support accusations of voter fraud. So that was thrown out. And then in another case that they brought in Michigan, they asked the judge, stop all the processing of absentee ballots. An election observer said that she had been given a sticky note, a Post-it, a freaking Post-it. And on the Post-it, an unnamed poll worker alleged that late arriving ballots were being counted improperly. So when she was asked by the court to provide the poll worker's name or any proof that she had, she said, I don't know their name and I don't have any proof. And so the judge rejected that. And also the judge said, you waited until Wednesday afternoon? It's moot. The votes have already been counted. That was Judge Cynthia Diane Stevens. She ruled on Friday. She said by the time the action was filed, the votes had been largely counted and the counting is now complete. Case closed. And then the Republican National Committee chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, raised a whole series of claims during a news conference in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan on Friday. She said election workers in Detroit were told to backdate certain ballots. So the poll workers were called to testify, and they said that never happened. And then they said to Ronna McDaniel, what is your evidence? And she said, well, I have to admit that these allegations have not been fully vetted. And so I don't have any evidence. And so the judge in that case dismissed the case. And then Ronna McDaniel also asserted that 2,000 Republican ballots in Rochester Hills, Michigan had been given to Democrats. And the city clerk named Tina Barton of Rochester Hills posted a video on Twitter so everyone would know that it was an isolated mistake, it was quickly rectified, and it's categorically false. And telling everybody that she is a Republican. And she said, as a Republican, I am disturbed that this is intentionally being mischaracterized to undermine the election process. She said there was a technical issue, it was temporary, and it created duplicate results when the mail ballots were scanned. It was fixed immediately in the moment. She said, I've spent 15 years building my reputation as a good election official. Not only a good one, a great one. And to have somebody make a statement that we committed fraud of some kind, that 2,000 ballots were found, I could not stand by and not respond to that. They filed a lawsuit in Georgia having to do with Chatham County, Savannah, and that was having to do with votes that came in after Election Day. Turns out that those votes were the votes of military voters and overseas voters, which are allowed. So literally, the Trump campaign was trying to exclude military ballots. And how do we know that? Because the Democrats in Georgia filed 2 affidavits telling the court that, and that it would not have changed the election anyway. And then there was another 2 affidavits filed where a Georgia judge dismissed Trump's suit in a day, saying there was no evidence that the county had failed to comply with the law. And they just keep doing. Now, in Arizona, too, same thing, okay? Sharpie Gate, that they voted using Sharpies. Oh, no, Sharpies. Well, that's allowed. And Katie Hobbs, the Secretary of State, said they're just trying to delay the count. Nevada, there was one case, and they had said in Nevada that there were 10,000 cases, 10,000 votes of improper voting, 10,000. When it was time to go to court, Trump's lawyers presented one case. It was a woman. She's got a name. Her name was Jill Stoke. She said she was denied the right to vote in person because her mail ballot had been stolen and filled out by somebody else. When they went to get the affidavit from Jill Stoke, she said, oh, yeah, that's my signature. That is my mail-in ballot. They actually offered her a chance to cancel her mail-in ballot if she wanted to and vote again. All she had to do was sign an affidavit saying, I don't want my mail-in to count. I'd want to vote in person. She declined to do so. She said, no, that's okay.
Mary had a little lamb. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
We are so grateful to Joe and Jill for welcoming our family into theirs on this incredible journey. And to the woman most responsible for my presence here today, my mother, Shamala Gopalan Harris, who is always in our hearts. When she came here from India at the age of 19, she maybe didn't quite imagine this moment, but she believed so deeply in an America where a moment like this is possible. And so I am thinking about her and about the generations of women, black women, Asian, white, Latina, Native American women, who throughout our nation's history have paved the way for this moment tonight. Women who fought and sacrificed so much for equality and liberty and justice for all, including the black women who are often, too often, overlooked, but so often prove they are the backbone of our democracy.
Absolutely.
All the women who have worked to secure and protect the right to vote for over a century, 100 years ago with the 19th Amendment, 55 years ago with the Voting Rights Act, and now in 2020 with a new generation of women in our country who cast their ballots and continued the fight for their fundamental right to vote and be heard. Tonight I reflect on their struggle, their determination, and the strength of their vision to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And I stand on their shoulders. And what a testament it is to Joe's character that he had the audacity to break one of the most substantial barriers that exists in our country and select a woman as his vice president.
I love that speech. I loved it. She's awesome. She's incredible. It's the trifecta of everything. It's women. It's black women. It's an Asian American woman. It's just wow. She like I said, it's a once in 100-year hailstorm that breaks that many glass ceilings. You know, it was just I got chills. And, you know, I love her. I've always loved her. I've loved her ever since she was elected to the Senate and she became viral. I mean, she literally went everywhere when she would question, one of Trump's nominees, like a Kavanaugh or Bill Barr. I mean, she is fierce. She's absolutely fierce. And I couldn't be happier. The only thing that would make me happier is if she were at the top of the ticket. But that'll happen. That'll happen. And he was amazing. I mean, you know, Biden is not, delusional. He knows how old he is, and he knows what an opportunity he has to stop the bleeding in this country, to stop the hemorrhaging of lives, to stop the spread of COVID, to stop the awesome amount of, storms that we have with, doing something about, blowing up this atmosphere. Right? Climate change is on his list of things to do. He's got an enormous amount of things to do, and he knows it. But he also knows, how he got there.
I'm proud of the campaign we built and ran. I'm proud of the coalition we put together. The broadest and most diverse coalition in history. Democrats, Republicans, independents, progressives, moderates, conservatives, young, old, urban, suburban, rural, gay, straight, transgender, white, Latino, Asian, Native American. I mean it, especially those moments, and especially those moments when this campaign was at its lowest ebb, the African American community stood up again for me. You've always had my back, and I'll have yours. I said at the outset, I wanted to represent this campaign to represent and look like America. We've done that. Now that's what I want the administration to look like and act like. For all those of you who voted for President Trump, I understand the disappointment tonight. I've lost a couple times myself, but now let's give each other a chance.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I got to say, it is an amazing thing. And I want Rhonda in Erie, Pennsylvania, who hasn't called the show in quite some time, to know that I couldn't stop thinking about you when he got to that portion, that stretch of speech, because it was, Rhonda in Erie, Pennsylvania is an African-American professor. She's a teacher that calls our show a lot. Not a lot. She's not chronic or anything, but she was the first person to call us up and tell us it had to be Joe Biden because Joe Biden could do this and no one else could. No one else could put together a coalition like this of Republican voters, conservative voters, black voters, white voters, and James Clyburn. Remember James Clyburn, the congressman from South Carolina? Remember, Joe Biden had lost Iowa. He lost New Hampshire in the primaries. I mean, we had 2,862 candidates, I believe. I believe that's exactly how many we had. And it did not look like it was Joe Biden's time. It just didn't. And then James Clyburn, who I know, and I know his daughter, too. She works at the FCC, believe it or not, Mignon. But James Clyburn from South Carolina tells this story that he was in church and a woman, I believe her name is Miss Jones, came up to him and said, right before the South Carolina primary, I need to know who you're voting for. I need to know. Because that is who I'm going to vote for. And so for Miss Jones, he said he got on TV and said, for him, it was going to be Joe Biden because he felt Joe Biden was the only person that could build a coalition big enough to do this. And now that we know that 70 million dupes in this country would vote for a man who lies to them repeatedly every single day, who has presided over the most death an American president has seen since the Civil War, who has committed crimes and is an unindicted co-conspirator, is the only impeached president in the history of these United States to ever run for re-election. Just dwell on that for a brief moment. 70 million people showed up for this con man, for this demagogue, for this salesman, for this Amway salesman, okay? Because he's that good at selling things and branding and marketing. Not at building or solving or fixing or any of those things that you need a president to do, but dividing and conquering and, being strong and wrong over and over and over again. Even when the numbers are telling you this is an abject failure. I mean, I got to tell you, my hair salon, full of Trumpers. I don't want to say anything, but they're full of Trumpers and they're my friends. So when people call me up and go, what do you say to, people you love who are like all in the tank for Trump? I go, I just tell them, let me hold you. But Saturday after I did my gardening, my hair was glued to my head and I was ready for, a hair wash. I went in there and they were in mourning. They were grieving. And they know me, they know me for what, 10 years, more than 10 years. And I refused to gloat. I didn't even bring it up. I just, was talking about the hurricane coming and blah, 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 and how I planted because, I just wanted them in the ground instead of in their little, cups so that they would blow away. And I'm telling you, they were beside themselves. They were so angry. And they pushed me so far that I just finally planted my feet in the middle of the salon and I just said, look at us. Look around you, because we're all wearing masks. Everybody's socially distanced. You have to have your temperature taken before you can come. This is abject failure. And they still.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
The end is coming. The end of the noise and lies. The end of the chaos and division. The end of the hate. In its place, a new America is ready to stand tall again. Ready to restore the goodness in the heart of our nation. Ready to put people before politics. Ready to lead, to innovate, to grow, to heal. It won't always be easy. There are tough times to come. COVID to be defeated. An economy to restore. But that new day is coming. A day when words like caring, competent, and professional won't be insults. A day when compassion and character mean more than celebrity. A day when every American's rights are respected and valued. That day is coming because of your hard work, your commitment, your energy and passion. That day is coming because of your vote. Joe Biden, our president. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Well, thanks for the heavy lift, Lincoln Project, but now go back to the other side of the aisle. Just go back. They're so good at this messaging thing, it scares me. But it's time to actually move ahead. It's time to actually fight this battle for a vaccine, fight this battle for testing kits, fight this battle against COVID. It's time to fight this battle against climate change. It's time to get rid of the Electoral College. I hope you know that is the next fight we need to have, is to get rid of the Electoral College. We almost did it 50 years ago. We had a senator, Birch Bayh. His son, Evan Bayh, was also a senator. But we had a Senator, Birch Bayh, who actually was from Indiana. He was a Democrat. And he had an amendment that called for the direct election of the president by popular vote. And you know what? It actually got pretty far. It passed the House. Senate, of course, blocked it. And but it was a start. And we need to finish that job. We totally need to finish that job. And we also need to put the president of the United States on trial for all his many crimes. Yes, I'm for it. Honestly, I'm for it. The crimes are endless, okay? New York State has impaneled a grand jury. I hope you know that. The Attorney General in New York, Letitia James, we were talking about her on Friday. She's impaneled a grand jury. She impaneled it in March of 2019. Robin called and reminded me about it. And the reason why she has a grand jury is because the man committed tax fraud. The man inflated his assets for the purpose of getting loans and deflated his assets when trying to file his taxes. And so he's a tax fraud. He's a cheat. He did bank fraud. Those two things right there constitute bank fraud and tax fraud. And of course, he's an unindicted co-conspirator in a money laundering scandal that put Michael Cohen in jail. Now, if it wasn't for COVID, he'd still be in jail. Michael Cohen was sentenced to 3 years for funneling the money to Stormy Daniels and to Karen McDougal through these law firms. Okay, that's fraud too. There's so much. I mean, Eric Trump, as you know, just recently was forced to testify in front of her impaneled grand jury because the Trump family has been withholding documents. They've been instructing witnesses, including Eric Trump, to refuse to answer any questions under oath. That's witness tampering, okay? And we know that this is one of Trump's main, the witness tampering, we saw it in the Roger Stone case. Roger Stone was adjudicated by a jury of 7 felonies, and one of them was threatening a witness and witness tampering, okay, against Randy Credico. Oh, how we all forget. And then you've got the district attorney in New York. You've got Cyrus Vance, who is also looking into the Stormy Daniels accusations and also looking into banking fraud and insurance fraud. So, yes, it's time for this man to, he loses the immunity. Oh, and another thing we have to do. So Donald Trump will lose the immunity, the protective bubble in which he has lived as the president, oh my God, of the United States of America for 4 years on January 20th. He will lose that immunity. Now, who gave him that immunity? That's the Office of Legal Counsel, right? Just a little office inside of the Attorney General, inside the Department of Justice's offices, is this little office called the OLC, the Office of Legal Counsel. It's going to matter who we put in there. It's going to matter because that rule, it's not a law. It's a rule that says that a president can't be put on trial like the president like the president could kill somebody on Fifth Avenue in front of witnesses and still not go on trial for murder, I'm sorry, that's got to go. That's got to go. And so building this cabinet is going to be key. Now, there's some problems. The cabinet has to be confirmed by the Senate. And that is why I know how exhausted we are. And I wanted to celebrate today. Believe me, I do. I want to laugh. I wanted to just take a lot of joy in our hard work that we did this, that this thing is done, because it is. But we still have the Senate to deal with. And Georgia is going to determine whether or not we have a successful Joe Biden, Kamala Harris presidency, vice presidency, or whether Mitch McConnell gets his way with us and does absolutely nothing for 4 years yet again. And so we're not done. January 5th, we got, I got to hand it to Stacey Abrams. Say her name, everybody. The organization that the Fair Fight, Fair Fight, is Stacey Abrams, Get Out the Vote, Fair Fight, Protection of the Election group. And she did a magnificent job. And black women, I just want black women to know, yes, it was women in general, but black women especially black women, were the backbone of this success. They were absolutely essential to what we're celebrating today. That being said, it ain't over. We still have Georgia, and I'm telling you, we're going to count on them yet again. Because on January 5th, we have 2 Senate elections in one state. This is crazy. But in Georgia, we have Jon Ossoff, who has to beat corrupt David Perdue, and the Reverend Warnock of the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Savannah has to be elevated above that insider trader Kelly Loeffler, this criminal. And the 2 of them got together today, the Perdue and the Loeffler. Oh my God, the nerve of these people is really, really endless. The privilege that they think is owed to them is so bizarre. So here you got 2 people that were found guilty of that need to be found guilty, okay, who we know committed insider trading based on private briefings they were given about COVID. Now, they didn't tell Georgia. They didn't tell their constituents. They didn't tell the American people. They didn't tell anybody. They told their broker. Sell short, sell short. The economy is going to go upside down because of this pandemic that's coming our way. These people have to be defeated on January 5th. Right now, the Senate is 48-48. We get these 2 Senate seats in Georgia. You know, we get rid of Perdue and Loeffler, and we get Ossoff and Warnock. We got 50 and Kamala, who breaks the tie. Then we got a shot at decent governance. Then we got a shot at making progress. Then we got a shot at doing something about the minimum wage, something about COVID and the stimulus. And
call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Hello, and thank you to the grassroots activists, the allied organizations, volunteers, and of course, all of you voters for your efforts over the years to create this new Georgia. I am so grateful for your contributions in making Georgia a pivotal battleground state. Vice President Biden now leads in the race for Georgia's 16 electoral college votes. Without your faith, this would not have been imaginable. And without your hard work, this would not have been possible. As we continue to make sure that every vote is counted and every voice is heard, our work is not done. In Georgia, we have 2 Senate runoff elections on January 5th. My friends Jon Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock are on the ballot, and control of the United States Senate will likely come down to these 2 races. That means access to health care and access to justice are still on the line. Please go to gasenate.com and join our efforts to elect Jon Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock to the United States Senate. That's gasenate.com. We have seen what's possible when we work hard and when we work together. We know we can win Georgia. Now let's get it done. Again.
Yeah, just when you think it's over and you're done and you worked really hard and there's no more work to be done, there's work to be done. There's so much cleanup to do. It's unbelievable. But first, we have to get the Senate because, honestly, they could deny Joe Biden his cabinet. They could literally, the Senate, Mitch McConnell and his crowd, who are still, I mean, they're all out there today going, well, let him go to court, and we're not conceding, and Lindsey Graham, and this one and that one. Also, Kristi Noem and Roy Blunt and Mitt Romney and Jim Jordan, all these freaks still roaming around there going, we're not done yet. We want to still count. Maybe he'll have some rallies. Maybe we'll do a Stop the Steal Trump tour. Can you imagine this? To just further tear our kishkas out, to further tear us apart, just literally gut us. They're thinking about it. Some people are denying that they're going to do it. Other people in the White House are saying, no, we really should do it. We really should go out there. Mitch McConnell just said, I don't think he should concede. This is bizarre. It's bizarre behavior to have people like this who are more interested in power than they are in keeping our democracy going, to guarantee us that in 4 years we'll have another election, which was not a sure bet. Wasn't. I just want you to understand that. Anyway, we have the Senate thing we have to deal with. Now, I know a lot of us are not. Listen, I'm not in Georgia. I'm close, but, can't vote there. But gasenate.gov, gasenate.com, or whatever that is, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock have to win. Or you're going to have these freaks literally do to Joe Biden what they did to Barack Obama. Just be a brick wall between all kinds of progress, healthcare, COVID, everything we care about, minimum wage, fixing the tax system so that, the freaking richest of us have to start paying their fair share. All these things require the Senate, all these things. So we're not done yet. We're just not done. I mean, I can't even imagine that they would actually stand there and deny hearings, never mind for judges, but for defense secretary. Now, Donald Trump fired Mark Esper today, our defense secretary. He fired him today. And he's threatening anybody that works for him right now, literally threatening them, that if they look for another job, he will fire them. If they look for another job, he will fire them. We have an attorney general to pick. We have a guy who has to head up the Environmental Protection Agency. We need a labor secretary that gives a damn. We need a commerce secretary that understands commerce. We need, a VA secretary who gives a damn about, veterans. We need a Treasury secretary, okay, who can help us grow. We need all these things. And can you imagine if we don't have the Senate, what that might go like? I mean, we'll end up where Trump is with acting. Now, Trump chooses acting, not because they won't confirm, but because it's easier for him to fire people. And some of these people were they were just so ill-equipped, like Ben Carson, who, by the way, has COVID. Sorry. Ben Carson has COVID. David Bossie has COVID. 6 people, in addition, in the White House have COVID. But really, do you want Ben Carson, somebody like that, as in charge of housing and urban development? Honestly, this is ridiculous. This was a ridiculous 4 years. It was ridiculous. And the only people that saw anything good happen for them are really wealthy people. Everyone else, we're either shutting down our businesses, or we're wearing masks when we go to the supermarket, or the country is so divided you can't talk to your friends anymore. It's like a big brick wall between you and the girls. It's unbelievable. So January 5th, that's what we're going to work for now. We're going to work towards January 5th and getting the Senate. 2 races, 1 state. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. John in Florida.
Yeah. Trump is claiming that there's 45,000 ballots that have only Biden checked off on it.
Well, where's the evidence?
No, I'm going to say if Biden or somebody was doing that, they'd fill it all in for all the Senate and the House and the judges and everything. They'd fill the whole ballot in for Democrats. Why in the hell would they leave it blank?
There are people that only vote for president. There are, but I don't see any evidence that 45,000 people in Georgia did that. But
you're missing my point.
No, I get your point that if they were going to vote for Biden, they would vote for Senate, they would vote for down ballot,
Right.
they would vote for House members. I get it. I get your point.
One more thing.
But what I'm saying to you is bigger. What I'm saying to you is, they need to put up or shut up about all this, stuff that they're alleging.
Let me just say one more thing. The lead lawyer on this 45,000 vote thing is the same lawyer that told Flynn to plead guilty when he was such an innocent lamb. It's the same lawyer that Flynn's lawyer. She would be in the food line somewhere if she wasn't working for Trump.
Who is she?
I don't know the name.
Oh. Is she from Florida?
I don't know where she's from. She's got a kind of a pear-shaped face. She's on Fox a lot.
Pam Bondi?
No.
Oh.
No, this one doesn't look as good as Pam Bondi.
Yeah. Well, Pam Bondi, she's another one who took a bribe. Donald Trump gave her $25,000 as a campaign donation when she was our attorney general. And guess what she did? She dropped the Trump University fraud case in Florida. Except he did commit fraud, and he had to pay $25 million to the students who were defrauded. This is the guy that 70 million people voted for. I don't know. But anyway, whatever rumors you hear, whatever accusations and allegations and pointing fingers and this went wrong, because what I was going to say is Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, they just put out a joint statement saying the Republican in Georgia, Kemp, and the lieutenant governor in Georgia, Republican, and the Republican Secretary of State had a sham election. These two criminals are screaming at their own Republican Party.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Okay, everybody, this is Lieutenant Governor, a Republican of Georgia. His name is Jeff Duncan, Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan.
Gabrielle Sterling, who is a Republican voting systems manager of Georgia, says, quote, "We're not seeing any widespread irregularities in terms of the vote counting there." What reason do you have to doubt that?
Yeah, so my office has been in close communication with the Secretary of State's office and the Attorney General's office, and made sure that if there's any sort of systemic examples of fraud or voter disenfranchisement across the voting base, to let us know. We've not had any sort of credible incidents raised to our level yet, and so we'll continue to make sure that the opportunity to make sure every legal ballot is counted is there. But at this point, we've not seen any sort of credible examples.
Oh, okay, everybody. There are no credible examples in Georgia of voter fraud. None. That's a GOP lieutenant governor, the lieutenant governor to the Republican Governor Kemp. Secretary of State is a Republican too. And Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue are asking for the Secretary of State of Georgia to resign for failing to provide a election free of fraud. Isn't that something? These people they're going out like crying, stinking toddler babies, and they need to face the bar of justice. And speaking of justice, the four things that Joe Biden has on the top of his agenda, the first thing, of course, is COVID. And today we found out that Pfizer, who did not, I can't emphasize this enough, did not participate in Operation Warp Speed. They refused to be part of that. They turned down almost $2 billion of incentive money. They didn't want to be burdened with the politics of the Trump. They didn't want to be burdened with the politics of the United States. And so Pfizer's German company, they have announced today, and listen, this was their press release. It's not peer reviewed. And of course, you have to wait for that. But they say that their trials, they're in the third phase of trials, that their trials have gone so well that they are willing to say that the vaccine that they've developed protects you from getting COVID up to 90% of the time. 90%. That's up there with the measles vaccine. Now, I want you to know the flu shot that everybody should get, this winter, especially if you're over 60. I did get mine. I got the shingle shot in the left arm and the flu shot in the right arm. Flu shot's nothing. The shingle shot, oh my God. That's also a double dose. You have to do the 2. Oh my God, that second dose, your whole arm is like numb for, I don't know, a week. And it's like, boo, hurts. The flu shot's nothing. But the flu shot only gives you 50% protection. They're saying their vaccine, Pfizer is saying that their vaccine gives 90% protection. That would be amazing. Anyway, it's going to take quite some time for them to get peer-reviewed, to get FDA emergency authorization, if that's the route they choose to go. No, they're not part of Operation Warp Speed at all. And also to manufacture millions, I mean billions really in the end, but for us, millions and millions and millions of 2-dose vaccines. So let's say, let's just say we have 200,000 adults in this country that we want to vaccinate, right? 200 million, 2 doses, 400 million doses. Oh my God. So you're looking at, mid to end 2021. So Joe Biden has announced the COVID task force. It's serious people. The plan is out there if you want to see it. It's on my website. It's on randyrhodes.com. In the homework section, you'll see the Biden plan for COVID. No, it's not a national lockdown. It's getting testing out to people. It's getting same-day testing. It's getting instant testing. It's getting all kinds of testing out to people so that everyone will know if they are asymptomatic, but they'll know if they have the virus before they become symptomatic so that they can self-isolate, they can contact trace. We can do this. We can actually do this because today is like the 3rd day in a row. We've had over 100,000 cases. We hit 10 million. It's just so sick. Then he's got, of course, the economic recovery to deal with. Then we've got racial equality issues to deal with in the justice system and climate change, and these are his 4 priorities. Can you imagine a president with actual plans and priorities? Wow. But it will require a cabinet. And guess what? They're not going to give him the cabinet of his choice if we don't get the Senate for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It's just that simple. Sarah in West Palm.
Hey, Randy, how are you?
Good.
Good. I was just thinking about that Georgia election, and I know everybody is on fire to do as much as they can for the campaign, but I hope that somebody is going to have some kind of organization for monitoring, because I know up until the day before the election, I was calling and texting people, and these people were getting, tens of calls and texts for political encouragement. And the last thing I want is the whole country to be descending on Georgia and calling and texting and, turn people off to possibly wanting to vote or just wanting to opt out and not want to hear anything anymore.
Really? I don't think you know Georgians then. Because they would like to vote right now again. It was so good. That's how good it was. It was like, I just need 13 seconds to rest, and then I want to do it again, is what it is. So, yeah, I think we got this. I really do. And think about it this way. If Trump's not on the ballot, a lot of people aren't even going to show up. If anything was true about, the caller from Florida's little, offering, that they only voted for Biden, right? They only voted for Biden and Harris, and they didn't vote down ballot, which is, junk. Nobody waits in line for 11 hours not to fill out the ballot. But right. Those people want to vote right now for 2 senators, and they will show up, and the Trump voters they're the ones that are, dejected. And I'm telling you, I saw them, my friends are Trumpers, my girlfriends, and I hate to say it, but they are. They just, I don't know. They fell for it hook, line, and sinker, and you cannot dissuade them. You can't, they're part of the cult, and it's just like that for them. So, yeah. You don't want to. They're raw, is how I put it. They're raw. I came home. I told Howard, the girls are raw. So I didn't want to say anything. I don't. But they're done. They're done. That was all that they wanted to show up for, was that particular race.
Right.
But Georgia is ready to vote again. They'll do it again. Esther in New Mexico.
Hi, Randy. I called exactly 4 months ago now. I'm looking at when I called, and I was asking about waiting on our Constitution as it relates to Donald Trump and his attack on American democracy. At that time, we were at 3 million cases, 124,000 deaths.
Wow.
Now we're at 10 million cases, almost double the number of deaths.
Yeah.
And we're waiting on the Constitution again to get a new president on January the 20th. And I just feel like we're in the middle of two wars, and we would, as Biden supporters, would want to ignore Trump since around 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on November the 7th, when he was declared the president-elect. But I don't think we can ignore him. I mean, we're still very much at war with him, and we'd like to be indifferent to him, and we'd like to ignore him. But he has declared war on our democracy. He continues to declare war. And I'm just wondering if our Constitution is going to come to the rescue, or if we really do have to really launch an all-out war campaign on Trump to get him out of office.
No. Yes to the Constitution, no to the war. What Donald Trump's done is declare. This is where America is. We're in a cold civil war, okay? And the Constitution will prevail, just like it did for Lincoln. You know, they tried to deny Lincoln his presidency, too, because I don't know if you realize this, but Lincoln, his name was not on the ballot in the slave states, okay? They refused to put his name on the ballot in the slave states, and so the South didn't want to recognize Abraham Lincoln as their president, and the Constitution prevailed. So the Constitution is really an amazing thing. It took us 11 years to craft one after the Declaration of Independence. And I think they thought of a lot of things, not everything, but they thought of a way. They gave us a way to keep the Union bending towards more democracy, more justice, more freedom, more liberty. And this will work here, too. It will work. Now, again, you got this lovely little lady working at the GSA, and you got tell the truth, everybody. I'm the only one that ever told you about GSA, right? Yeah. Well, you got this little girl over at GSA who doesn't want to change the locks. She doesn't want to, revoke his parking pass. She needs a little nudge, this one over there, okay? GSA Emily, at GSA Emily. She's on the Twitter. Yeah, she's on there. Tell her, it's time. Time to face the music and change the locks. Soon. But they are preventing a smooth transition. That's the problem.
Mary had a little lamb. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
The President-elect of the United States is calling for unity and a collective effort to fight a raging pandemic.
This election is over. It's time to put aside the partisanship and the rhetoric that designed to demonize one another.
The response from the outgoing president? No. The response from the administration? Hell no. The response from Republican leaders in Congress? F no. It's not that unity isn't a priority for them. Unity seems to be the enemy. It will hurt the fundraising. It will hurt the base. It will hurt the runoff elections in Georgia.
Right.
American security, democratic traditions, the moral fabric of the country, those can wait. Maybe forever. This morning, top Republicans, led by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, are backing President Trump's refusal to concede and trying to delegitimize President-elect Joe Biden's victory. Overnight, Attorney General William Barr shattered Justice Department precedent and instructed federal prosecutors to investigate these bogus allegations of voting irregularities, despite the fact that no real evidence has been presented. This was a move deemed so craven by the top election crimes prosecutor in the Justice Department that he resigned his post in protest overnight.
Oh! His name is Richard Pilger, all right? So this is what happened last night. This is so sick, okay? So they're filing all these lawsuits, and I told you yesterday, we went through 5 of them. The Trump administration is 0 for 5. They've not won any because there is no voter fraud. There's nothing Nothing to see here. Move along, move along. And they've been filing these lawsuits without any attached evidence, without any claim. And you need to have two things that you can show the court. One, evidence that there was election fraud, and two, that the amount of ballots that are in question would change the result of the election. And neither of these tests have been met. And so you have these two law firms primarily. You have Jones Day, and you have another law firm that you probably, I don't know if you've ever heard of Porter Wright, but they're both white shoe law firms, you know. And they're bringing these cases without evidence attached, without merit, without claims that it would change anything. And they're going to get stiffed because Donald Trump doesn't pay his bills. I've been tweeting at them. You know, the Jones Day managing partner is a guy named James M. Gore, and the guy at Porter Wright is Robert Tanis. And I asked them, you know, why are you bringing these meritless lawsuits devoid of any evidence, you know, attached to them, and threatening democracy itself? Because people in those law firms are quitting their jobs. People in those law firms are saying, okay, this is a bridge too far. Money is one thing. You know, we get Bill blah, blah, blah. But this man, A, doesn't pay his bills. And B, this is really threatening democracy. And so you had people quit. Well, over in the Department of Justice, we have a person who is assigned the task to bring election fraud cases on behalf of the United States government should that occur. That man's name is Robert Pilger. He quit last night also because Bill Barr put out this mealy-mouthed, parsed sort of declaration. And it was so bizarrely wrong to do, A, because of the way it was parsed and worded, meaning Bill Barr, you can see from this letter, had absolutely no view of his own that there was election fraud. And B, him writing this letter before certification of an election has never been done before. So he is a weasel, okay? He's doing this because he doesn't want to be targeted by Donald Trump and the people who voted for him. He doesn't want to be targeted. And that is what is going on here. I hope you understand that without Pennsylvania, which isn't close at all, 45,000 ballots separate the two candidates, with Biden on top. Okay, there's no chance that there's no recount in Pennsylvania. Okay, there is going to be a recount in Georgia because the margin is less than 0.5 percentage point, and that entitles a candidate in Georgia to request a recount. And obviously, you know, Donald Trump will request a recount, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But he cannot win without Pennsylvania, period, end of story, full stop. And that is why none of this matters in the end. None of it. Now, I will say that this man, Pilger, after this letter, here, I'll play you a CBS report about Bill Barr's letter.
In this memo obtained by CBS News, the Attorney General is urging prosecutors to look into allegations of fraud. But at this point, the Trump campaign has not provided any evidence of fraud. So the real impact of this memo is that it now allows the president to say the Justice Department is investigating. It allows him to continue to delay concession and undermine the trust in the outcome of this election.
Attorney General William Barr has given the president's unsubstantiated allegations of voter fraud a boost by allowing prosecutors to go around longstanding policies to investigate allegations of fraud. In a memo obtained by CBS News, he says prosecutors can pursue substantial allegations of voting and vote tabulation irregularities before the election is certified. But judges in Michigan, Georgia, and Nevada have rejected lawsuits backed by the campaign, saying they presented no serious evidence.
There have been no factual allegations
that support the idea that there was any kind of fraud or improprieties in the vote counts.
CBS News contributor and election law expert David Becker served in the DOJ during the 2000 election dispute in Florida.
But in no circumstances should the Attorney General or the Department of Justice be serving as the president's personal lawyers in a campaign capacity to protect an election in which he clearly received fewer votes in the popular vote and fewer votes in the Electoral College.
Okay, so here's the question. Why is Bill Barr inserting himself improperly before certification of a state's election? Why is he doing that with a parsed memo? Is he doing it because the private law firms are having a moment of a cleansing moment of clarity about undermining democracy itself, and that they might find it impossible to continue as law firms if they participate in the undermining of democracy, if they defend a man who is lawless? Or is Bill Barr inserting himself because they're planning some sort of a coup? You see, these are the questions that Americans are wrestling with right now. Is it because private law firms are getting squeamish about representing a lawless man? Private law firms in Ohio who are white shoe law firms, meaning, you know, very staid, very conservative law firms. Maybe their lawyers are rebelling, and I know that they've held internal meetings to voice their concerns about the firm's election-related work for Donald Trump. I know that at least one lawyer quit in protest at Jones Day. I know that Jones Day has already filed 4 lawsuits that have failed. And I know that they're wondering whether or not they will ever get paid because Donald Trump always stiffs his lawyers. Now, Jones Day is Don McGahn's old law firm. You want to talk about a revolving door? There you have, a revolving door on crack, okay? Because McGahn came from Jones Day, served as Donald Trump's lawyer, his White House counsel, and then went back to Jones Day. Whoo, just don't let the door hit you in the face as you're going through the revolving door. Some of the senior lawyers there are objecting to working for this president who is not only polarizing, but dangerous. And then there's another law firm that's also doing some work for them. Oh, by the way, Ben Ginsberg came from Jones Day, too.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
President Trump is still refusing to accept the reality of the election results this morning, and those around him are supporting the delay in allowing President-elect Joe Biden to get to work. One of them, Attorney General Bill Barr, who authorized federal prosecutors to investigate Trump's baseless claims of voting irregularities in the election. There is no evidence of widespread voter fraud or illegal voting in the United States, something officials in battleground states like Michigan are making clear.
I'm confident that any inquiries that proceed in Michigan or elsewhere are only going to reveal the truth. This election was smooth, secure, transparent, and accurate.
On Capitol Hill, top Republicans, including Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, amplifying the president's lies.
We have the system in place to consider concerns, and President Trump is 100% within his rights to look into allegations of irregularities and weigh his legal options.
Okay, so you know what's going on, right? I mean, I think we're sophisticated enough over here to know exactly what's going on. So what's going on is this. We have the balance of power in the Senate still has to be determined. And Mitch McConnell would become a minority leader if he loses the majority in the Senate. And those 2 Senate races come down to Georgia, Georgia, Georgia. Mitch McConnell is terrified of becoming a minority. Mitch McConnell doesn't want the president to target him on Twitter or to do anything that would sacrifice the majority in the Senate. And so Mitch McConnell is bootlicking, a liar, bootlicking an illegitimate claim that there was massive voter fraud. There was no massive voter fraud. No one sees it. No court sees it. The court in Michigan doesn't see it. The court in Georgia doesn't see it. The court in Arizona doesn't see it. The court in Nevada doesn't see it. No one sees voter fraud. Okay? But Mitch McConnell is up there also parsing his words. So is Bill Barr. Okay? They're up there parsing their words because they don't want Donald Trump to have some sort of a fit and do anything that might cause them to lose the majority in the Senate. And that is what is going on. And that is why they are backing the lies. Now, I will tell you, Fox News has pretty much had it. Here's a little report from Steve Hayes on Fox News.
What the president doesn't have a right to do, however, is amplify claims that are unjustified. And I think that's what he's doing here. He said that the election is stolen. We've seen zero evidence that the election has actually been stolen. And if you go back and you review the claims that were coming from the president, his sons, his top surrogates last week, one after another of these claims was proven false. You know, whether it was Michigan magically coming up with an additional 130,000 votes or Trump ballots being burned. All of these things sort of collapsed in on themselves. If there's evidence of wrongdoing, evidence of fraud, by all means, let's see it, let's litigate it. What we can't have, and what I wish more Republican leaders would do, is speak out when the president is making claims that are not backed by evidence. It matters. This is an important moment. It matters.
Yep. Fox News contributor Stephen Hayes, it matters. This man is taking a dump all over democracy. None of these claims are true. None of them are true. These lawsuits were filed without any evidence attached to them. There is no evidence. There's absolutely nothing. And, you know, you could say what you want on Twitter or Facebook or on radio or on TV, but you can't say it in a court of law and win without evidence. You can't just show up in a court of law and say, I have nothing to back my claim. My claim is actually meritless, and not be sanctioned by the court for bringing a frivolous lawsuit, for literally doing the wrong thing. That's why these big law firms are having their come to Jesus moment about dumping Trump as a client. Hence the insertion now of the Department of Justice under Bill Barr to take over what has never been done before, and that is to challenge an election before certification of it. This is really disgusting. But, you know, Chris Coons, who is also a senator from Delaware, Joe Biden's home state, he came on TV last night and he said, you know, privately, I got to tell you, privately, the senators are telling me they know this is over. They understand that Joe Biden is the president-elect. They get it. They're just so afraid of Donald Trump. They're afraid of Donald Trump targeting the Senate and punishing Mitch McConnell by making him a minority leader. That is what is going on here.
See no evidence of voter fraud in the key states that would need to have their outcomes changed. And I so far see little evidence of any Republicans standing up to the president. There have been 4 so far here in the Senate. My hope is that this is the week when that will begin to turn, as it is clear there is no possible pathway for the president to overturn these results. And we are beginning to threaten the foundations of our democracy, which is a regular, orderly, peaceful transfer of power after every quadrennial election.
What are they telling you behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Bluntly, that they accept that, I mean, they call me to say, you know, congratulations, please convey my well wishes to the president-elect, but I can't say that publicly yet.
Oh! Disgusting. That is just vile. They are lily-livered little babies, and it's all, they are literally doing this and, you know, creating this tearing apart of our country even further because they're afraid of losing the majority in the Senate because there is going to be 2 runoffs for 2 Senate seats in Georgia. And they're afraid of Donald Trump targeting, you know, that race. They want, this is sick, okay? But they want Donald Trump to do rallies for these Senate races. And they want people to vote believing that they were somehow ripped off, that they were somehow robbed, that this was a fraudulent election, and this is their revenge. on January 5th. That is what they are doing. That is exactly what they're doing. And it's sick and it's sad and it's tragic and there's no evidence for it. And these are meritless claims. They have been rejected by every court that has heard them. And I'm telling you that, you want to know what? You know, I'm the only person that ever brought up the General Services Agency, right? I'm the only person you know in your life who brought up the fact that the GSA is responsible for the transition way before. I mean, like months ago, I brought it up, right? Because people go, what if he doesn't leave? I go, you want to know how mundane this is? Do you want to know how simple a thing this is? The General Services Administration actually controls all the government buildings, and they will take away his parking pass. They will take away his security clearance. They will take away his ability to go in and out of the White House. They will change the locks, basically. And they'll do the same for the Naval Observatory, where Mike Pence resides, and his mother, whatever he calls it, right? So now all of a sudden, we're finding out that the GSA, there is a agency head. Her name is Emily Murphy. And everybody is screaming that Emily Murphy is the big holdup. Well, I dug deep because I understand how our government works, like granularly. And I found something, and I'll tell you what I found.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Sir, what do you say to the Americans that are anxious over the fact that President Trump has yet to concede and what that might mean for the country?
Well, I just think it's an embarrassment, quite frankly. The only thing that, how can I say this tactfully? I think it will not help the president's legacy. I think that I know from my discussions with foreign leaders thus far that they are hopeful that the United States democratic institutions are viewed once again as being strong and enduring. But I think at the end of the day, it's all going to come to fruition on January 20th. And between now and then, my hope and expectation is that the American people do know and do understand that there has been a transition. Even among Republicans who are people who voted for the president. I understand the sense of loss. I get that. But I think the majority of the people who voted for the president, a lot voted for him, a significantly smaller number, but a lot voted for him. I think they understand that we have to come together. I think they're ready to unite, and I believe we can pull the country out of this bitter politics that we've seen for the last 5, 6, 7 years.
It is bitter. There's no question. It's bitter, and it's based on nothing. It's based on feelings. And I thought the Trumpers were the ones that walked around with the T-shirts that said "F your feelings," right? You can't stay bitter, okay? We have to move forward. We're in the middle of an epic pandemic. We have over 10,180,000 cases in this country. We have almost 240,000 people dead. And we are adding to the death toll every single day. It is time to get serious about governing. It is time to get serious about this abject failure that we've lived through for the last 4 years, at least the last year, if everybody, loved the tax cut for the wealthy, which is really the only thing that got accomplished. But I was telling you, so what I found out about the GSA, what I found out about the General Services Administration, who controls all the government buildings and would be in charge of the transition. And I told you that when the transition happens, if he doesn't go, it's not going to be, people are, oh, do we have to call the military and who does it and Capitol Police? And I said, I kept telling you it's going to be so mundane and so boring that while it was a story for people to speculate on for a long time, I got to tell you, the way that it happens is so boring. The General Services Administration actually is the portion of our government that is responsible for all the government buildings, and they are responsible for the transition of power in the White House because the White House is a government building. So what I found out is that, we all learned about Emily Murphy, and we learned her name yesterday, that she is the impediment to progress. She is the impediment to the transition. She needs to ascertain, this is the new word, ascertain who won the election. Well, it's clear who won the election, even without having the results from Arizona or Georgia or North Carolina. It is because we don't, or Alaska, we don't have a final result from those states. And still, Joe Biden has more than 270 electoral votes. That's just a fact. So it's done, right? So I was wondering, who is this woman and why can't she ascertain? Turns out there, 10 days ago, just 10 days ago, the Trump administration inserted a new lawyer over at GSA, the General Services Agency Administration. They put a new lawyer over there that came right out of Don McGahn's old office, the White House counsel's office. His name is Trent. Of course, it's always a guy named Trent or a guy named Chad that's going to F you, okay? In this administration. Trent Benishek is a lawyer who came right out of the White House counsel's office, where Don McGahn came from Jones Day, went into the White House counsel's office, and went back to Jones Day. So now you got this Trent Benishek guy who is in charge of, he's the general counsel for GSA now. And they just installed his behind into GSA 10 days ago. That is the man that is holding, and he's a kid. He's a kid. If you look him up, you can see his, just look him up on GSA. General Counsel, GSA. You'll see his face right there. He is the impediment. He is probably the one that is telling Emily Murphy, who is also a Trump appointee, I must say, not to help Joe Biden transition into the presidency because she's the GSA administrator. Now, there are laws in this country, and the law in this country says that she must do this as soon as it is knowable who the next president is. She has to effect a transition. Not only does she have to give them keys to the kingdom, but she also has to start allowing them to get briefings for national security purposes. She also has to allow, it's not just real estate we're talking about here. It's not just, the house, the White House. It's not just that, and it's not just office space, okay? We're talking about presidential daily briefings. We're talking about doing background checks for his incoming. I mean, I don't think people realize how many people Joe Biden and his team have to recruit now. This is amazing, but see, this is what I'm saying. If you don't understand who does what and how government works, and especially, this one, Joe Biden now has to recruit 4,000 political appointees. 4,000. If you want to apply, you can do it. Do you know how? Do you? I'll tell you how. There is a book. Look it up. It's called The Plum Book. The Plum Book. Like the fruit. The Plum Book. You can look it up. There are thousands of jobs that have to be filled right now. Okay? Maybe you have some of the skills they're looking for. Maybe you always thought about government work. Maybe you'd like to be part of a presidential staff. Maybe you would. There is no barrier except for, what are you able to do, and how can you, what's your experience, and right? They'll tell you exactly what the qualifications for this position or that position is, and there are tons of positions. 4,000 positions, 4,000 political appointees. But I will tell you this, 1,250 of those require Senate confirmation. Now, if Mitch McConnell is being this way, you could just best believe he's going to deny Joe Biden confirmations for these 1,250 people who require Senate confirmation. That is why Georgia is so important right now, okay? I digress. There's also a $4.7 trillion budget that has to be prepared. He has to assume leadership, Joe Biden does, of a 2 million strong civilian workforce and a 2 million active duty and reserve military force. There is a lot to do. Plus, there's background checks that have to be done. Senate, like I said, Senate confirmation. There's all kinds. And she, well, This lawyer that was just installed over there 10 days ago is the impediment, and it is literally threatening our national security. Truly it is. He just fired the Secretary of Defense on top of it. On top of it.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Access to classified information is useful, but I'm not in a position to make any decisions on those issues anyway. There's one, as I said, one president at a time, and he will be president until January 20th. It would be nice to have it, but it's not critical. And we're just going to proceed the way we have. We're going to do exactly what we'd be doing if he had conceded and said we've won, which we have. And so there's nothing really changing.
But not ruling out legal action?
No, I don't see a need for legal action, quite frankly. I think the legal action is you're seeing it play out, the actions he's taking. And so far, there is no evidence of any of the assertions made by the president or Secretary of State Pompeo.
Okay, what is he referring to? So Pompeo actually said this today.
Is the State Department currently preparing to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration.
What?
All right, we're ready. The world is watching what's taking place here. We're going to count all the votes. When the process is complete, there'll be electors selected. There's a process. The Constitution lays it out pretty clearly. The world should have every confidence that the transition necessary to make sure that the State Department is functional today, successful today, and successful with the president who's in office on January 20th, a minute afternoon, will also be successful.
Pompeo is saying he's ready for a transition to a second Trump presidency, which is really, really interesting considering this. Mike Pompeo invited a group of international observers to come and witness our election. Why? Because international observers like OAS, OAS is the Organization of American States, okay? And also the Organization for Security and Cooperation. These are global networks that monitor countries like, Costa Rica's elections and the Dominican Republic's elections, Peru and Suriname's elections, Guyana, like that there stuff. They requested that they be allowed to observe the American election this time. And the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, actually said, sure. So 28 members of the Organization of American States were here. They were observers. They were present on the ground. They were here in Georgia. They were here in Michigan. They were here in Iowa, Maryland, D.C., and Georgia. Okay, they were on the ground along with the Republican observers, the Independent Party observers, and Democratic certified observers. They were all here. They were watching everything, and they just issued their preliminary report, and they gave high marks to the United States for the conduct of last week's elections. And now they're criticizing Donald Trump and his administration officials for making baseless allegations that the outcome resulted from fraud. Okay? The Organization for Security and Cooperation actually issued this statement, quote, baseless allegations of systemic deficiencies, notably by the incumbent president, including on election night, harm public trust in democratic institutions, said Michael George Link, the leader of the observer mission that was here on the ground on behalf of the Organization for Security and Cooperation. The Secretary General of OAS, the Organization of American States, is Luis Almagro. And they sent their teams specialists and observers from 13 countries. They had 28 people, 28 members on the ground at the not request, but because they had asked Pompeo if they could, and Pompeo invited them to send their team. And so they were here on Election Day. Here's the statement. On Election Day, the members of the mission were present at polling places in Georgia, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan, and District of Columbia, and observed the process from the opening of the polling centers through to the close of polls and the deposit of voting materials with the proper local authorities. This is their report. Members of the mission also visited tabulation centers to observe the tallying of the result. In the jurisdictions that we observed, the mission found that the day progressed in a peaceful manner and that the attempts by members of the public to stop the count in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Arizona were clear examples of intimidation of electoral officials. Their final report is coming soon. So the whole world was watching this. And all these lawyers that are filing, whatever they're filing with the court, there's nothing attached. No evidence. No, nothing. And no assertion that anything would change the outcome. No assertion at all. All right, Dan in California.
Oh, my goodness. Hold on.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay.
Hi, Randy.
Hey.
So, you know what? I mean, I've listened to you for so long, and you're absolutely brilliant. You know what's coming so far ahead of when it happens, and I'm just wondering. We knew that everything was going to come down on Trump, that he was basically going to be facing so much litigation and jail time when he's out of office, and we knew this was coming. But when you hear Democrats talk, they just act like they're going to win the election, they're going to win the votes. And
we already won the election. The election is over, except for Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, which will not change the outcome. Okay, so the election is over. 270 electoral votes have been achieved by President-elect Biden. So it's over.
I understand that, but all of this baloney that's coming down, are the Democrats ready for this?
Why wouldn't we? What is there to get ready for?
All of the litigation.
I just told you the litigation is without merit. It's failed everywhere that they filed. It has failed in Pennsylvania. It failed in Michigan. It failed in Pennsylvania. It failed in Nevada. I mean, the court, which Mitch McConnell takes great pride in stacking, has said over and over again, wait a minute, there's not even any evidence attached, so we're dismissing this. This is without merit. This is frivolous. This doesn't,
Everything he does
he
is without
loves
merit.
to litigate. That's what he likes to do. He sues everybody or threatens to sue everybody. Doesn't mean that any court is going to do anything except dismiss the case for being meritless, number one, and number two, for not being able to affect the result. Because there is nothing that would change the result. Nothing at all. Listen, Georgia is so tight that they haven't called it, and when it does get called, it will probably be within, a half a percentage point different, and they'll have a recount. And that won't change anything either. Whatever the result is will probably end up being the result once they call it. And it doesn't matter if we win or lose Georgia right this second, because he can't win with Georgia. He can't win with Arizona. He can't win with North Carolina. All three of them wouldn't put him over the top. It's done.
So you're saying even though Mitch McConnell, even though Barr is going
to
pull everything they can.
I'll play you Mitch McConnell again, okay? It's very parsed, all right? You have to listen to the exact words, okay? He is doing this so as not to piss off the president, so that the president doesn't attack the Senate, the Republicans, and cause Mitch McConnell to become the minority leader. That's what this is.
And then there's the presidential race. Obviously, no states have yet certified their election results. We have at least 1 or 2 states that are already on track for a recount. And I believe the president may have legal challenges underway in at least 5 states. The core principle here is not complicated. In the United States of America, all legal ballots must be counted. Any illegal ballots must not be counted. The process should be transparent or observable by all sides, and the courts are here to work through concerns.
He said nothing. He's just showing support for Donald Trump, who hears, oh, Mitch McConnell is saying I've got lawsuits out. Oh, good. You know, he said nothing. Nothing at all. The 5 cases that he brought, he's 0 for 5.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
See this last night on Fox?
One party in America that opposes verifying signatures, citizenship, residency, eligibility. There is only one party in America trying to keep observers out of the count room. And that party, my friends, is the Democrat Party. You don't take these positions because you want an honest election. You don't oppose an audit of the vote because you want an accurate count. You don't oppose our efforts at sunlight and transparency because you have nothing to hide. You take these positions because you are welcoming fraud and you are welcoming illegal voting. Our position is clear. We want to protect the franchise of the American people. We want an honest, accurate, lawful count. We want maximum sunlight. We want maximum transparency. We want every legal vote to be counted, and we want every illegal vote to be...
I just think we have to be very clear. She's charging, the other side is welcoming fraud and welcoming illegal voting. Unless she has more details to back that up, I can't in good countenance continue showing you this. I want to make sure that maybe they do have something to back that up, but that's an explosive charge to make, that the other side is effectively rigging and cheating. If she does bring proof of that, of course, we'll take you back. So far, she has started saying right at the outset, welcoming fraud, welcoming illegal voting. Not so fast.
Yeah, not so fast. So this is what the Trump administration has been about. They've been about lying to your face, lying about things that are easily provable, like math, lying about observers being in rooms in Pennsylvania when clearly the Pennsylvania count room, just like a Las Vegas count room, live streamed observers. Now, one of the things that Rudy Giuliani was screaming about was the observers in the count rooms in Pennsylvania were 10 feet away from the counting tables, and he went to court to say that wasn't close enough. So the Pennsylvania court said, all right, move them closer. So the observers that Rudy acknowledged were in there, his only complaint being the distance between them and the table, was fixed so that they could then move closer. And they were moved to 6 feet away from the table. And the reason why 6 feet is because we have a freaking pandemic. And the entire count room was live streamed, just like if you were in Vegas, okay? Well, go watch a Scorsese movie. Go, watch. Yes, we don't have election count rooms that aren't monitored or observed. We do have observers from the Democratic Party, certified election poll watchers, certified Republican poll watchers, certified Independent Party poll watchers. And yes, we had the Organization of American States and the Center for Global Cooperation in the rooms. And we know this because Rudy Giuliani acknowledged that they were in there. For God's sake, for the love of Pete. Heavens to Murgatroyd. So all they're doing is lying. And even Fox News, that was Neil Cavuto, interrupting that live press conference because she was lying about fraud that does not exist. There is no evidence. No evidence surfaced in Nevada. No evidence surfaced in Georgia. No evidence surfaced in Michigan, Pennsylvania. No place. No place was there any fraud. And, this thing about Bill Barr, putting out this memo yesterday to engage in normally prohibited behavior by the Department of Justice, meaning that he authorized federal prosecutors across the United States to pursue, quote, substantial allegations of voting irregularities if they exist before the election is certified is also highly parsed. The problem is you don't investigate any election before it's certified by the state. The other part of it is completely parsed. Think about what he's written here, okay? Federal prosecutors across the United States may pursue substantial allegations of voting irregularities if they exist, meaning they don't. But even with that parsed memo going to federal prosecutors, one federal prosecutor has quit, saying that this is being done for political purposes. This is being done to advance a multi-state conspiracy theory, and that they will have no part of it. And that all of this is being done to not impact the outcome, but to impact the perception by Republicans who feel raw about the loss. He also said in this memo, well, let's say what he didn't say. He specified no instance of purported fraud that anybody should be investigating. He had no instance that he knows of or observed or heard about or wants investigated no instance. There was nothing in this memo that pointed to any specific thing that they should be investigating. And then there was this paragraph, quote, while it is imperative that credible allegations be addressed in a timely and effective manner, it's equally imperative that department personnel exercise appropriate caution and maintain the absolute commitment to fairness, neutrality, and nonpartisanship. What are they doing? I told you, they're doing this for political appearances and to kind of pet Donald Trump, to just, get him to relax, just get him to, think that somebody is on the case for him. There is no case to be made for him. There is no case that would overturn the results of this election. What is disgusting is that Bill Barr knows that the Department of Justice policy is, quote, not to conduct investigations, including interviews with individual voters, until after the outcome of the election allegedly affected by fraud is certified. So now they're going to make a play to delay the certification. That's the next thing that's coming. You'll see. Just like I told you about all these things that, way ahead of them happening. I told you they were going to happen. Now they're happening. And you go, how do you know this? It's because I read. I am not clairvoyant. It's not because I used to practice Wicca. Okay? The spirits are not imbuing me with any information that isn't commonly available to anybody who wants to read. There is nothing special about me. All right, there is. I read. It makes me very special. But I'm telling you, the next phase of this is going to be to try to delay certification. You know, you cannot win in court on a request to delay the certification in any state unless you have, again, the two-prong test. Each thing being met. One, evidence. Evidence of fraud. They don't have it. Two, that it would change the outcome of the election if something happened before certification. They don't have it. Donald Trump has lost. That is just a fact. I'm sorry for your loss. Come nestle in my armpit. I am here for you. I actually am here for you. But this is over.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
As in any campaign, the president has a right to bring legal challenges or request recounts where state law allows. However, there is no legal right to file frivolous claims. Lawsuits must have basis in facts, in evidence. And make no mistake, there has been no evidence of any significant widespread voter fraud. Joe Biden won this election fair and square. The margins of his victory are growing by the day.
Exactly. It's growing, not decreasing. So, but, you know, like I said, that's why I started off with you trying to explain to you that, you know, there's a great article in the New York Times today. This is how I freaking know who these people are, because their names are in the newspaper, saying that the lawyers at Jones Day, Don McGahn's outfit, Ben Ginsburg's outfit. Ben Ginsburg was the Bush v. Gore attorney. He just retired from Jones Day in August, okay? How do I know that? Because I read the newspaper. That's it. And that's what you need to do. You need to read a freaking newspaper and orient yourself to the world that you are currently trying to make a living in, trying to raise a family in, trying to orient yourself to, trying to understand where opportunities might be coming from, where opportunities are going to be restricted or limited, health-wise, what's going on, where are cases going up, where can you move freely about the country? Nowhere. You know, I just, that's the whole purpose of this, is to try and get you to toil in the real world, in reality, not in this freaking stupid TV show of a presidency that we've been suffering through for 4 long, horrible, lying years. I'm sorry, but that is what we've been living through. The abject failure it is knowable. You just look around and you see people in a supermarket, you see people in a 7-Eleven, you see people at the gas station, you see people in Costco, you see people in Sam's Club, all over the place, and everybody has to wear a mask because this, and it's in every state, right? Because this was an abject failure of federal leadership. That is observable. It is knowable. Now, the granular stuff, that's where I'm, you know, invaluable to you, because I will read everything and tell you where to look. That's the homework section, by the way. And yes, I know it's a lot of reading for every day, but that's kind of what it takes. Just saying. And there is no evidence attached to any of these lawsuits that frivolously and without merit, speciously, were filed on behalf of Donald Trump. He's only doing it because he's trying to get people to be politically agitated. He's trying to get people to feel that he has been robbed, therefore you have been robbed, and it's untrue and it's dangerous. We're like I said, I've known that we've been split right down the ass crack since 2015, when he came down the golden escalator with Melania all in white and called Mexicans rapists and criminals. And it all ended in a parking lot. Can hardly say it. At Four Seasons Total Landscaping, okay? Next to the porn store across the street from the crematorium. With crazy dingbat Rudy Giuliani screaming about he's got lawsuits. None of these lawsuits have succeeded. They've all failed. Every single last one of them. Why? Because the filings contained nothing. No evidence. Nothing specific. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No thing. So why are they doing it? Again, I can't drive this point home hard enough. They're doing it because they want 70 million people who did vote for Donald Trump, which is an astronomical number. They don't want to lose them. And they think that the way to keep them is to keep them angry, to keep them feeling angry. It's based on nothing, and it's dangerous, and it's got to stop, and it won't stop, and that's the problem that we have. That's the real problem that we have. Do we have a problem with, fraud? No. Do we have a problem with anything coming to the court that would be a game changer? No. Do we have a problem with observers in Pennsylvania? No. Do we have a problem with observers in Michigan? No. Do we have a problem in Nevada with corruption or any other thing? No. No. No, no, and no. Dick in Ohio.
Hey, Randy, how are you doing?
Hi.
This was interesting. I went, Tuesday and saw this, but Randy, you've got the popular vote, and then you've got the electoral college. But I'm thinking, you were saying that they want to recount this in Pennsylvania and these other states and everything. But you said this election, Biden has got it, but do you think they're going to turn the corner and give him those electoral votes to Trump?
No. There's not going to be a recount in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
There will be a recount, I'm guessing, in Georgia.
Okay.
That won't change a thing.
Won't change a thing?
No, because Georgia's not even been called yet, and Biden is over 270 electoral votes. Arizona is still not been called by CNN.
Yeah, he had 270 and Trump only had 214. Am I correct?
I don't know. I don't see the latest numbers, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't change a thing, right? I mean, if you left Arizona out, or gave Arizona to Trump, let's say we give Arizona to Trump. Let's give Let's give North Carolina to Trump, and let's give Georgia. I don't want to, but let's give Georgia to Trump. This pains me. He still doesn't get to 270. Period. Full stop. End of story.
Good talking to you, Randy.
Pennsylvania, Joe Biden is ahead by almost 50,000 votes now. 50,000 votes. That is not within the margin of error. Nevada, Biden won by almost 3 percentage points. That doesn't qualify for a recount. Those two states alone. Okay, what did I say? Did I say Pennsylvania? Yes. Pennsylvania and Nevada, just Pennsylvania puts Biden into the White House. It puts him behind the Resolute desk. Just that. Just that. Again, Donald Trump had to repeat exactly what he did in 2016. That means he had to hold Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. He did not. He lost all those states. Done. That's how I knew on election night who the winner was. Everybody's, trying to count every single vote, and, they're chart throbs, okay? Steve Kornacki, I think he got into the Adderall stash that Donald Trump has. I swear to God, these people, John King, they are you look at the count rooms, my God, there's a girl in Georgia who's sitting right on the end there, and of course, there's cameras in the count rooms. They've been going at this. I don't know how.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Before the election, Donald Trump basically told us he would refuse to accept the results if he lost by claiming fraud instead and trying to reverse the outcome in the courts. And that's exactly what he's doing now.
Right.
Baselessly crying fraud, making unhinged accusations, and filing frivolous lawsuits without evidence.
Democrats are being sore losers. They refuse to acknowledge they lost the election. So what do? They cry malfeasance, wrongdoing, criminality, fraud.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was Kayleigh McEnany back in 2018 over a close race in Georgia. This is now.
You take these positions because you are welcoming fraud and you are welcoming illegal voting.
It's not just the hypocrisy. It's that with Biden winning a much more convincing victory than Trump in 2016, now Team Trump is trying to kill confidence in our democracy through disinformation, which many of his supporters will believe. So let's clear a few things up. When Trump tweets, "Since when does the lamestream media call our next president will be?" the answer is, since the 19th century, just like they did 4 years ago when Hillary Clinton conceded, despite razor-thin margins.
Right.
They've pushed viral videos they say show ballot stuffing in Flint, Michigan. The video was actually from Russia.
They've
passed around allegations that a dead man voted in Michigan, but it was his son who shares the same name and address. They've claimed Republicans were given Sharpies in Arizona that vote scanners couldn't read. Also false. Now, these are just a few examples. And if it all sounds desperate, that's because it is. Their legal strategy isn't any better. After the infamous Four Seasons Total Landscaping press conference between a porn store and a crematorium, Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani rolled out his first witness, a convicted sex offender and perennial candidate from New Jersey.
Oh, my God.
The campaign had already been laughed out of court after they said they'd been barred from watching ballots, but then admitted it wasn't true. The judge responded, "I'm sorry, then what's your problem?" Another judge said there's no evidence to support accusations of voter fraud, and when they tried to appeal another ruling, they failed to provide necessary documents, which seems to be a theme. Now they're trying to stop Pennsylvania from certifying Biden's win and requesting recounts in states they're losing by tens of thousands of votes, when no modern recount has reversed a decision by that margin, as Wisconsin's former Republican Governor Scott Walker pointed out. They also can't explain why, if there was massive Democratic fraud, Republicans actually gained seats in the House. That didn't stop AG Bill Barr from greenlighting a federal election probe, prompting the official in charge of election fraud investigations to promptly resign.
So it's going to be all right. You got to understand that. You have to know that there's no evidence whatsoever and that every case they have brought has failed, that this crazy video that people are pointing to saying, see, there's stuff here, that was from Russia. Russia, for God's sake. Oh, my God. And this thing at Total Landscaping, okay? Yes, yesterday we had a caller that said, was that Bernie Kerik fresh out of jail standing behind Rudy Giuliani? So I went back and looked at it. Yes, that's Bernie Kerik fresh out of jail standing behind Rudy Giuliani with a known convicted sex offender. Seriously, dude. With a known convicted sex offender who isn't from Pennsylvania, but is from New Jersey, as his witness, his prime witness for voter fraud in Pennsylvania. I mean, this is so sick, it's unbelievable. It's just so twisted, and it's all being done to make people feel that they've been robbed, that somebody came and stole something. This was an election that was on the up and up. And, you know, Hillary lost what? She lost Wisconsin, Michigan, by like what, 21,000 votes, 11,000 votes. Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania combined, she lost, combined 77,000 votes. You should know that in Michigan alone, Joe Biden is up 146,000 votes. In Pennsylvania alone, Biden is up 45,000 plus votes. The country is divided. It's been divided since Donald Trump showed up and declared that racism was acceptable to run on back in 2015. So yes, the margins are going to be thin, but not razor thin. Not to the point where, okay, Florida, just so you remember, Florida, the recount in Florida was over 535 votes. There is no state that is that close. There is no state that has a chance of in any recount scenario, reversing the result. The states that haven't been counted yet are the states where the recounts will happen. And guess what I just said? They haven't been counted toward the total yet. Therefore, the total is unmolested by any recount in Arizona or Georgia, or even North Carolina, if they decide that they need a recount there. It's done. This is over. Gene in California. Ow.
Dee, I think you're special, and I thank you for keeping me sane. I'm a first-time caller, and I was listening. Thank you. I was listening to what you said today. I agree with it. I'm a retired attorney myself, and I think your analysis is spot on. The one thing that got me thinking was that perhaps Trump is trying to wrangle a pardon, perhaps a full-scale pardon, including state offenses, in exchange for conceding and getting the hell out of there. Do you think that could be going through his mind?
I don't know what kind of law you practice, but there is no such thing as a presidential pardon that would shield you from state prosecution. So that's off the table. It doesn't even exist in law. The other thing is Biden made a pledge to the American people, and he said he would not pardon Donald Trump. So that would be a promise that no one would ever get over if he broke it. Also, I don't think he cares whether or not Donald Trump concedes to him or decides that he's going to be the first president in the history of the United States of America that doesn't concede, since George Washington, who also said, I'm not even going to run for a second term. I want to show the peaceful transfer of power can and does work. So if that's what Trump wants, he wants to go out like a schmo. He wants to go out like, he needs to be in the witness protection program or whatever he chooses. Then that's up to him. I don't think it's influencing Joe Biden at all.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. It just crossed my mind, and I thought anything's possible. I mean, if Joe
let me tell you something. The Attorney General in New York has a grand jury that she impaneled in March of 2019. Eric Trump Jr. was just forced to testify, okay, in front of that grand jury about tax fraud and bank fraud. That's a state charge, and there's no way that Trump and his family can avoid that, or be pardoned away from having to deal with that. It doesn't happen. It can't happen. It doesn't work that way, and you know that.
Randi, I live in hope. Thank you so much.
Okay, hope is good. It's my sister's middle name. It's how I learned, how to have hope. Listen, there's lots and lots and lots of hope out there if you just read the newspapers.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All right, with all of this, political posturing, and that's all it is going on in this disinformation campaign that's being pushed out by Republican lawmakers and our Secretary of State and even our Attorney General, who's trying to give an impression without saying fraud because he can't, to people who want to believe the worst about America, and that is that we don't have free and fair elections anymore. Ever since Donald Trump, we don't have free and fair elections anymore. Is sick. It's sick, but it is ongoing. And in the middle of all of this, disorienting talk, and that's all it is disorienting talk, the Supreme Court, as we told you they would on November 10th, today is November 10th, heard the case that was brought by red states to overturn the entire Affordable Care Act based on the fact that the individual mandate is no longer is zeroed out. Okay, that there is no penalty for going without insurance in this country, and everyone else has to pay for you should you end up in the emergency room, or should you need, COVID care. And now we all have to pay for you out of our premiums. But it doesn't. I just pulled a couple of clips from the oral argument, and it just doesn't seem like the Supreme Court is in the mood to strike it down. Why do I say that? Because the only thing you were listening for, I told you, this is a case that in legal terminology would be decided on severability, right? Somebody asked me that a couple of months ago. What is the case about? The case is about whether or not the whole law fails because the individual mandate, which is just a paragraph or two in the law, was zeroed out. And I gave the example of any contract you ever sign, okay? Any contract you ever sign has a severability clause in it, meaning if one paragraph of the contract becomes moot, meaning it doesn't apply anymore, things have changed, whatever, does the rest of the contract fail? And the answer is no. No. The other paragraphs that are still relevant to your employment or whatever you signed a contract for, to your purchase of the land or whatever, still is in full force and effect. So that's what the Supreme Court is considering. They're considering whether or not the ACA falls on severing the individual mandate. And they didn't even sever it. They just zeroed it out. Well, John Roberts, the Chief Justice, said, we have to figure out what Congress intended here. And it just seems to me that they didn't intend to strike down the law. And we know this kind of because John McCain gave it a thumbs down when it came up for a vote. Remember? And it failed to be repealed. So the intent of Congress is a known thing. It is knowable. And I think that Congress thought, we don't have to repeal it. The court will do that. And guess what? That's not our job.
I think it's hard for you to argue that Congress intended the entire act to fall if the mandate were struck down when the same Congress that lowered the penalty to zero did not even try to repeal the rest of the act. I think, frankly, that they wanted the court to do that, but that's not our job.
That's how simple it is. It's not our job. If Congress intended to strike down the law, Congress could have struck down the law. And the first thing that the Supreme Court does in a case like this is try to ascertain the intent of Congress when they passed a law or when the law came up for a vote to repeal. Well, the repeal failed. Therefore, Congress did not intend to strike it down because Congress failed to strike it down. You see what I mean? Now, today was Amy's first day, and she asked the same thing. What was the intent of Congress, do you think?
What should we make of the fact that Congress didn't repeal the provision? I mean, you said earlier repeal, and then you corrected yourself and said zeroed out. I mean, you're asking us to treat it as if it functionally has been repealed, but that's not what Congress did. Does that matter?
Your Honor, I think Congress understood how this court had construed 5000A as a choice, and it understood that it would make the provision effectively inoperative to zero out the tax. And that was a reasonable thing for it to do. Obviously, it was operating under reconciliation procedures that allowed it to make the change compliant with the Byrd Rule, and CBO had told it that there was no material difference between repealing the provision and zeroing out the tax.
So that's the lawyer, that's the solicitor from California who is defending the ACA. And she asked, well, Congress failed to strike it down, so doesn't it matter what the intent of Congress was? And he said, yes. And that when they zeroed out the individual mandate, they zeroed it out. They did. But they didn't strike down the whole law. So there you go. That's just a lot of legal words to tell you what I just told you. The Supreme Court is looking to find what did Congress intend to have happen to the ACA. Clearly, they did not intend to strike down the entire ACA. They intended to zero out the individual mandate charge, the $692 a year. And that is what they did. So I don't think that the ACA is going to fall. Just don't. Janine in Hawaii.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
Love you, girl.
Thank you.
Okay. I am today Pompeo said, yeah, we're ready for a transition to Trump.
I saw that.
And then he very specifically mentioned the electors in December. Mitch McConnell, was it this morning, talked very specifically about waiting for the electors in December. And Bill Barr, I'm not sure if he said it specifically, but definitely was alluding to the elector process in December.
Yeah.
I think they're ready to steal it this way. I think they're not giving up. I think this is the last resort. I know you were the one that talked about it first a couple months ago.
Sending a different slate of electors?
Yeah. I think that. Think about Trump. He's
right.
going to think of anything he can.
I understand that they're going to try and make the case. Okay, first they're going to try to delay certification by Pennsylvania, especially Pennsylvania, because that's the difference between Biden and a Trump presidency. All right. Federal law does not permit a state legislature to choose a new way of selecting the electors unless it can show that the voters failed to make a choice. Now, the only states where that is just slightly possible, okay, is Georgia, North Carolina, and Arizona. If those state legislatures should send a second set of electors, it won't matter.
I think that if they tried that at that point,
it won't matter.
There will be riots in the streets from us.
What I'm saying is, it won't matter to the 270. It won't matter. Okay? If those three states, it doesn't matter. Biden will still have 270 electoral votes.
Yep.
So
I believe they're not going to steal it, but I think that's their final plan because of the little twinkle that Mitch had in his eye when he said it, and the big twinkle and the doofy smirk that Pompeo had when he said it.
Okay, let me just tell you this. Mitch McConnell hates Donald Trump. What Mitch McConnell wants is to use Donald Trump for whatever he's still worth to him. And what Donald Trump is still worth to Mitch McConnell is the Senate majority. And that will come down to a January 5th runoff in Georgia for 2 Senate seats. Right now, it's 48-48 with 2 independents who caucus with the Democrats but don't count as a majority, right, toward the majority. And so we need Ossoff and we need Warnock in Georgia. That election has nothing to do with this one. It is a separate thing. No, you don't have to re-register. You just go vote in that election, okay? And
send some money to Stacey Abrams. She's Senate, Georgia Senate, something like that.
Send it to Ossoff. Send it to Warnock. However, that is a separate election, and Mitch McConnell is not going to piss off Donald Trump until that one is done, because Donald Trump will attack Mitch McConnell. He will attack the Republican senators. He will attack the Republican Party. And they don't want that bad PR ahead of an election that's going to figure out who has the majority in the Senate.